Hello, Flowla knitters. Welcome to the video for Clue 3 of Flowla Mystery Knit Along. If you are watching this, I am assuming that you are knitting Flowla Mystery Knit Along with us and that you have finished clues 1 and 2. You own the pattern and you are ready to be working on clue 3. If you haven't started yet and you really want to join us, it is never too late to join in on a mystery knit along. You can purchase the pattern, go stash diving for yarn, and join right in. So I've got some fun stuff to share with you for clue number 3. There are 1 or 2 maneuvers that definitely need a video for you to understand what is going on in the pattern. So I am going to jump right in with some step outs that are ready to go. I have one here that is at the end of clue 2 that is ready for the stitches for clue 3. So clue 3 is at the bottom of page 3. And the first thing that clue 3 says to do is with main color, bind off all stitches to marker and then remove marker and bind off 1 more stitch. So let's do that together. I do not have the same number of stitches on my needle as you have on your needles because I am working on a little mini shawl. So I'm binding off to the marker. I am removing that marker. I am binding off 1 more stitch. And then I am turning my work. This is where I have to read my own pattern. This maneuver took me a few sleeps and walking away from my pattern for my knitting and coming back to it because I knew what I wanted to do, but I was having a pretty hard time making my yarn and needles do that. I finally figured it out and I think you're gonna enjoy it. So the first thing that you're going to do is take this last loop and put it onto a crochet hook. And now grab that double pointed needle that your pattern calls for. It's pretty important that you use that for this step. And now you're going to crochet cast on 8 stitches onto that double pointed needle. So hold your double pointed needle perpendicular to your crochet hook, reach over, grab your yarn and pull it through that loop. Go ahead and do that so that you have cast on 8 stitches total. I'm going to actually do less than that. Trying to do it a bit so you can really watch it and see how it has worked. I also have a separate video on how to work this if you have never worked a crochet cast on before. And now I've got 6 stitches on my needle. You're going to have 8. Take that last loop and just put it onto your needle, just like that. And now do not turn your work. Leave your double pointed needle just as it is. Grab the empty end of your needle. So not the end of the needle that has all of your stitches on it, but the empty end. And now you are going to go ahead and knit 8. I am going to knit 6 because I have less stitches than you. I am going to tell you that your yarn and your needles will feel slippery while you're doing this. So you can see that I am working at a table with my hands kind of flat on the table. That is really helpful for this step. If you try to do it in the air, like sitting on your couch or in your favorite knitting chair, it might be much more difficult. So go ahead and jump over to the dining room table, give yourself or your desk or something, just give yourself somewhere kind of flat to work for this and you'll have much more success. So then I'm knitting to that last stitch right there, and then I'm going to slip one knitwise with yarn and back, And now here's the magic move. I'm just gonna kind of move my yarn over to the right. I am going to swivel my work so that I am facing all of those live stitches on my left hand needle. And now I am going to knit one and pass that slip stitch over. So those stitches that I cast on are now starting to bind off from the other edge of your thong. I promise this works if you follow the words exactly as they are written in the pattern, and then also watch this video. You can back up and watch that once or twice if you need to understand the maneuver completely. Now you're going to turn your work. You are on a wrong side row. You're going to slip one purlwise with yarn in front, and you are going to knit to the last stitch and slip one purlwise with yarn in front. Now it is time to grab your CC again. So you're going to go ahead, turn your work so that you have your right side facing. I'll kind of line this up so you can see what's going on here. I am grabbing my contrast color, giving myself a nice tail. And once you get this all set up, you can go back to your chair again. Just for this point, the flow is to be at a table. So you're going to knit 3, and I am on row 3 right now of clue number 3. I'm knitting 3, and now I am going to make one right, which means, let me slow down and do that. I do this like in my sleep. So make one right means we're picking up that bar in between those 2 stitches from the back to the front, and then working through the front of that bar without splitting your yarn to make a right leaning increase. And now you are going to knit to 1 stitch before the picked up stitches, slip one purlwise with yarn in back, knit 1, and pass slip stitch over. That should be very familiar to you because it's exactly the same maneuver as you were doing on clue 2. So the big difference with clue 3 and clue 2, on clue 2 you were decreasing stitches as you worked this panel, and on clue 3 you are increasing stitches as you work this panel. Now I'm going to turn our work, slip that first stitch, and I am knitting across to the last stitch. As you get to the end, especially on this first set of rows, if things are looking loose, just go ahead and grab your tail. Of course, it's being difficult, and tighten things up a little bit. Knit that last stitch, and then slip one with yarn in front. And now you are going to be switching over to your main color and working the exact same 2 rows that you just worked, and you are eating up stitches going up the other side of your thong, side of clue 1. Now you are going to do a maneuver that is an attached I-cord going along the top, but I've tried this in a brand new and fresh way. To set up for that, follow your pattern. You'll be putting the stitches held on your stitch saver back onto your needle. All right, let's set up for the I-cord border. When I used to work an attached I-cord, I oftentimes have started with a provisional cast on, so I have those live stitches there to pick up later. I've realized that I can do this over the stitch saver now, which means you're not unzipping scrap yarn, which can be a little awkward, especially for 3 stitches. So with the wrong side facing of your work and the full needle held in your right hand and the stitch saver held underneath it, provisionally cast on 3 stitches with the attached contrast color onto the stitch saver and the right hand needle. So I'm going to go over my right hand needle. I am going to grab yarn. I now have 2 stitches on the working on needle and 2 stitches on the stitch saver. And now I'm going to do 1 more on the needle and 1 more on the stitch saver, just like that. And then you're going to turn your work. Make sure you get that little last twist right in there. And now I'm just going to pull this stitch saver right here so that it is in between things and not going to go anywhere. And I am ready to start working my attached I-cord across the top here. So I am going to knit 2 stitches, and then I'm going to slip 1 knitwise, and I'm going to knit 1 from the body right there. And then I am going to pass that slip stitch over. And I'm going to take these 3 stitches just worked and bring them back onto my needle. And now I am going to knit 2, slip 1 knitwise with yarn and back, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over. And now I'm going to take those 2 stitches and put them back and continue on just like that. I'm going to do 1 or 2 more rows just so you can see how easy this is to work. And you are going to work that across the entire top of your Flowla right now. Sorry, I said that kind of stilted as I was getting myself all together. You're going to work that all the way across, binding off these stitches with the attached I-cord edging. And when you get to the end of that, you are done with Clue 3. I cannot wait to see it. Do not cut your yarn because you're going to want that attached for Clue 4. Clue 4 comes out on Thursday, August 4th, so have your Clue 3 done by then. I'll give you links to Ravelry forums if you have any questions, to the tips and tricks thread. Please feel free to ask any questions either here or over there. If you have any, I've got an eye on everything. I love doing mystery knit-alongs with you. I especially love when I introduce funky little maneuvers that you've never seen before. So I hope that you are enjoying this as much as I am. Having a good time going with the Flowla with you.